the easiest way to help with your energy levels is circadian biology. And by that, I mean sleep. So I always joke that this is the cheapest diet on the planet. Like before you shell out the bucks to any nutrition program, before you work with me or any other person, commit, pinky promise that you will sleep 8 hours every night for the next 7 days. And you will see your belly weight. Your belly is going to go down. Your weight is going to drop. Your mood is going to be better. You're going to, the brain fog that you may have experienced is going to be gone. You're going to be motivated to do right by exercise and by nutrition. So,
lest we forget energy.
and energy, of course. Yeah. Your energy is going to be higher.
Yeah.
And we know that when you have poor sleeping, of course, if you've had a bad night, I mean, your wife may be able to really relate to this now. But when you don't sleep well, we know that you have inferior fuel partitioning. And what I mean by that is your body you are going to have a tendency to eat more crap. Like you're going to want to eat more of the simple processed sugary, simple sugars that can be readily switched into glucose. And then we also use that fuel in an inferior way. And of course, when you're sleep deprived, like who wants to go to the gym? 0% of people want to do that. And you're just not motivated, and your regulation, your emotional regulation is also poor. So when we were talking before about the prefrontal cortex, your prefrontal cortex is very much sensitive to, blue light technology, but sleep deprivation is the thing that your PFC is very, very sensitive to. And she, the CEO, as I like to call it for my ladies, or, the CEO, right? She is the prefrontal cortex right behind the forehead. That is the area that is regulating those lower emotional centers in your limbic centers. So 8 hours, and by 8 hours, that means that you're not in bed for 8 hours. That means you're probably in bed closer to 9 because you have the latency, like you have to fall asleep and, the waking up, and then, maybe a little bit of buffer time there. Couple of really best practices for sleep. Room is cold, so 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. For the rest of the world, that's 15 to 18 degrees centigrade. Room is dark. No devices. An hour to two before you're going to go to bed. No meals, same time frame. Like you want to allow the stomach to empty. So that would be what we would call time restricted eating or intermittent fasting. Sometimes people refer to it as that. If you're traveling, this is my best travel tip. So a lot of people are like, well, doc, I travel a lot. Bring warm, fuzzy socks to your hotel room. And you're going to make the hotel room as cold as you can. And you're going to wear socks. And you do this at home as well. But this is particularly good if you are traveling, because the way that we fall asleep is we have to lower our core body temperature. So if you have warm, fuzzy socks on, you are literally going to charm the heat away from your core down to your extremities where it can be evaporated. So that's going to, if you're traveling and you're having trouble sleeping, warm, fuzzy socks, that's my best travel tip for you. And of course, sex and orgasms, right? Like, that's a different conversation, but, orgasms are nature's lunesta. It is the best way to hack into your parasympathetics. It is the best way to have that expansive, we've been talking about the sympathetics being this like contractile, sort of energetic, like just in survival mode. The ability to let go, literally let go and have an orgasm is very expansive. It's very parasympathetic. And of course, it's the comedic, like you finish, you roll over and you fall asleep. Like that's the best way that you can, best practices for sleep.
Quick question on circadian rhythm.
Yes,
I will say circadian rhythm is a big area of specialization for me and something I emphasize a lot. And I agree 100% with you that I've actually polled my audience, and consistently circadian rhythm optimization and the stuff I teach around that, people rate as the single biggest needle mover in what fix their energy issues. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you 100%. Just out of curiosity, is there any relationship of the menstrual cycle with circadian rhythm? Like, is there a particular time of the month that maybe women should prioritize it even more and prioritize maybe an extra half an hour or hour of sleep each night?
Thank you for asking me that. And I forgot to mention that. Yes. So when we think in general, a woman's sleep cycle tends to be longer than a man's. So this is maybe this is a different topic around sleep divorces and sleeping separately and stuff. But a lot of times we know about, on average, a woman's sleep cycle is about 15 to 20 minutes longer than a man's sleep cycle is. So what that means, our total sleep cycle, not just the 90-minute, like going through REM and phase 1, 2, and 3 sleep. So what we know about sleep disturbances in terms of a woman's cycle is she is going to tend to, because we see progesterone peak at the end of week 3 and the beginning of week 4, we tend to see her core body temperature beginning to rise. So progesterone, I didn't mention this before, but just as a little hack to remember it, progestation, pro-pregnancy. It's your pro-pregnancy hormone. So this is going to start increasing your core body temperature. And as I just mentioned with the little travel tip with the socks, the way that we fall asleep is when we lower our core body temperature. So if your core body temperature is now up to 1%, which is a huge, like, if for any of the women who wear like their Aura rings and I always get dinged. I want to like write Aura, can you please account for our menstrual cycles? Because the week before my period, I always get dinged on my readiness because my core body temperature is up like 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
So your core body temperature raises, it's much higher in week 4. So you will notice that there is going to be a harder time, not necessarily initiating sleep if you're doing things like you're being conscientious of the blue blocking and the device use and the feeding times, but you will notice potentially that you might wake up during a sleep cycle. So this is the issue of maintaining sleep rather than initiating. So it's not necessarily a melatonin issue. It's more of an issue of maintaining that sleep cycle because you're being pulled out of it because of your temperature. And that's actually how we wake up, right? We wake up because our core body temperature over the course of the night begins to slowly rise. So for women who are having trouble sleeping, the tips and tricks that I talked about in terms of like the cold room, the dark room, there's a company, I have no affiliation with them, but it's called the Chili Pad, where you can it's like something that just goes right underneath your sheets, and it makes your bed colder, and you can modulate up or down the temperature. I have found that to be a lifesaver for the women that I've worked with who particularly deal with PMS type syndromes, and they get that sleep deprivation. So pay particular attention to your sleep hygiene in the end of week 3 and into week 4, leading up to your period.
Hey, this is Ari. I hope you enjoyed this video. And one more thing before you go. Actually, 2 more things. One is, if you enjoyed this particular little clip, the link to the full-length podcast is in the description down below. So make sure to check that out. Also, one more thing. Let me ask you a question. What if I could show you how to double your energy levels and dramatically improve your brain function, reducing your anxiety and depression to a degree on par with antidepressant drugs, but without the side effects? Sound pretty interesting? Well, there are, in fact, numerous compounds that can do this, that have been shown to do this. And I'll take you through just a few of these very briefly. One of them is rhodiola rosea. And this has been shown in studies, rhodiola rosea extract, in people with stress-related fatigue and exhaustion, to cut their levels of fatigue and brain fog in half in less than a month. Just this one compound. There's another compound in my formula Energenesis called NT factor phospholipids that's been shown to help repair mitochondrial membranes and mitochondrial health to the level of healthy 29-year-olds, taking people with deteriorated mitochondria who are over the age of 65, restoring it to the level of healthy 29-year-olds. And that has been shown in numerous studies in various types of chronic fatigue, aging-associated chronic fatigue, obesity-related chronic fatigue syndrome, to increase energy levels by 30 to 45% in the span of 4 to 12 weeks, depending on the specific study. So dramatic improvements in a very, very short period of time. Two more compounds that are amazing, I highly recommend, that are in my formula, Ultra Brain, along with Rhodiola rosea. Saffron extract. This has been shown to increase levels of, improve your mood, I should say, and decrease levels of depression on par with fluoxetine, which is Prozac. And not only that, but with fewer side effects. It's much safer and much less likely to cause negative effects than antidepressant drugs are. Acetyl L-carnitine is another compound that's been shown to dramatically improve brain health in older adults. It also improve energy levels in older adults with chronic fatigue by between 40 to 50% in just the span of 2 to 4 months. And the last thing I'll mention here is acetyl L-carnitine has also been compared to antidepressant drugs and been shown, like saffron, to be as effective as antidepressant drugs in combating depression, but without the harmful side effects that so often occur with the drugs. So this is just a small sampling of the over 35 compounds that are in my formulas, Energenesis and Ultra Brain, that are all proven to dramatically improve energy levels, mitochondrial health, and brain health, and much, much more. And I highly recommend that you go check these out. If you're struggling with depression or anxiety or brain fog, if you're struggling with stress-related exhaustion and burnout, if you're struggling with chronic fatigue, go check out these formulas, give them a shot. I promise you are going to be blown away by the results. And like I said, the science has already proven that these things work. So you don't have to just take my word for it. There's lots of research to support that, and I'll even link to some of that research down below so you can verify everything that I just said for yourself. So the links to those studies will be in the description for this video down below. So check them out. Check out the formulas on theenergyblueprint.com. Again, Energenesis is the mitochondrial formula, and Ultra Brain is our brain formula. Check them out, try them out, and I think you're going to be blown away by the results. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you again soon.